My F27 flatmate, F27, has told my boyfriend M31 she's in love with him. I, F27, moved into my flat in October of last year to take the place of a mutual friend of mine and my new flatmate, F. We have a generally great atmosphere in the flat, and both have similar expectations and habits, and while we're not friends yet, as in we wouldn't go out for brunch or be each other's plus ones for parties, we are very friendly. She seems super normal and level. When the lockdown began, my boyfriend M31 of 2 years was living with his sister and his mother undergoing chemo, who lived alone, needed somewhere to stay where she could be looked after. So she moved into his room. My flatmate was totally fine, and we had a proper chat about ground rules, etc. But ultimately the flat is huge for 2 people, and she has a kind of granny flat set up in hers. Either way, she gave definite approval. Now, we 3 got on great, but never really spent a ton of time together. We all work from home and spend the occasional evening playing games or whatever. But ultimately, we didn't mingle much more than before. My boyfriend, however, cooks every night for the both of us as a thank you, and so we do now eat together, and my flatmate seemed happy to be included. It was great. However, last week, my boyfriend took me aside and told me that while he was in the courtyard hanging out the washing, she ambushed him from behind and gave a huge speech about how she's in love with him. And while she respects he's with me, she has deep feelings for him and that she's available if he were single. Oh, and please don't tell Op. She didn't try to kiss him, but tried to hold his hand. He was very anxious and flustered when he was telling me this. The flat atmosphere is very awkward now, but as far as she knows, he's not said a word. She's not said anything else to him, but he did mention that she had touched his arm a couple of times as she was walking past recently, and it's really gotten under my skin. My BF is also confused because he hasn't spent that much time with her apart from dinner, and never alone. I spoke to our mutual friend who was shocked and says she's never done anything like this before, and she'd never known my housemate to have a crush on anyone either. I've not seen her acting strangely in any other ways, and it hasn't outwardly affected how she treats me. We can't move on because your highs. Virus, money, etc. How do I deal with update? Okay, firstly, thank you all for your advice, and no thank you to the few who took it upon themselves to DM me to be inappropriate or creepy. WTF, read the room. It gets a little intense, so first I'll just cover some things I wasn't able to in my original post. I trust my boyfriend completely, even if I didn't. This apartment is large, not massive. I know where that beloved MF is 24/7. A lot of you asked when after my housemate's confession he told me about it. He told me a couple of hours afterwards. He explained to me after we had a chat about it that he was afraid I wouldn't believe him or be angry, because at first he thought it was a weird joke that made him uncomfortable, and he felt, rightly so, weirded out. I agree with the bulk of you that her continued touching is harassment, and while a number suggested he just confront her himself, I empathize with being in a situation without breathing room where someone is sexually harassing you. It's not easy, and you can quickly find yourself unsure if those brief moments of crossing a line happened. He's not on our lease, and understandably he was concerned about me and the power dynamic in the house. Our room is a mini granny flat. She pays the bigger share. I also don't believe that it was, as some suggested, a hypomanic episode. I have BP too, and while I understand the love rush, she exhibited zero other behaviors and never tried to contact my BF outside of the weird touching. I also can appreciate there's no way she was actually in love. So, yesterday, after a tense few days of trying to avoid her, my BF and I were in the kitchen at breakfast, with her around in the living area. I went to our bathroom. She has an ensuite, which is just off the main area, to brush my teeth. I walked back out to grab my phone as she was sidling behind my boyfriend, who was looking in the fridge, and caught her running her hand and forearm across his lower back where his t-shirt had ridden up a little. My boyfriend, who didn't see me, yelped really loudly and just lost it. He yelled at her to stop, and when they both saw me, he starts going, "You see? You see?" This is what I was talking about. I was furious, just whole-body anger, and I could see she had now realized he had told me about her confession behavior, and just sprinted to her room and slammed the door. My BF and I went out for a walk to calm down, and he kept apologizing for not being more firm, but he was shaken up. Some of you told me I should just confront her head-on, which in the moment I 100 sided with. I was so angry he told me he'd rather give her the opportunity to do it diplomatically. I appreciated what you guys said about lockdown being extenuating, and in discussion with our mutual friend, I was willing to believe that an element of it was naivete, and a bit of fantasy gone too far. I was willing to be kind to her. When we returned with a plan of action, we knocked on her door, but she didn't answer. We tried a couple of times, but she wouldn't come out, although she was seeing my WhatsApp messages. Come late afternoon. I was just over it, so I knocked and told her I was coming in. I sat her down on her bed and told her gently but firmly it was inappropriate, making us uncomfortable. Told her she had to get the hell over it herself if she intended to continue to live with us. She burst into tears and starts crying about how she's and what a bad person she is, and she can't believe the pressure of lockdown is getting to her, whatever. And I felt bad. Started sympathizing, trying to be compassionate. And then she says it's just so unfair that the guy I'm in love with has a really great girlfriend. Reader, I lost my shit. Unfair? My ass. I told her she had a lot of growing up to do, and perspective to learn, and that she owed the house an apology. She started to have a meltdown, a full, weeping, hiccuping, snotty meltdown. And then when I stood up to leave, I spotted in her clothes rack my freaking shirt. I took it and went back to my room. My housemate cried loudly with the door open until 7 p.m. E4. Attention when I cracked. I used our emergency contact sheet, called her mom, told her she had to come pick up my housemate. I've never met this woman, who came rushing in like a superstar, but the look of annoyance and embarrassment on her face when she arrived and found her 27.5. Daughter having a tantrum told me this wasn't a new part of her My housemate also stuffed pretty quickly after she realized her mom was there. They didn't say anything to us, and we just hid in our room until they were gone. I think she'll be gone at least for a while, but I texted her to let her know it would be best if she texted me before she came back, when I'll see her. Technically the lease ends in August, so my BF and I think we can make it work and find someone new, and if not, it's not so long till we can resign without her. As a coda to all this, my BF mentioned if she took a blouse, maybe she took other stuff too. I appreciate some of you may consider this an invasion of privacy, but I did go back in just to check the clothes rack, a set of my jeans, my t-shirt, one of my boyfriend's work shirts, a vinyl I owned, my fucking charm bracelet from when I was a kid from inside my jewelry box, and a sheet of my old antidepressants. This was just what was on the rack. I imagine there's more in the drawers. I don't know if this was the right thing to do, but I left them there for now. BC. I don't want there to be any doubt she stole them. There's zero chance she's going to live here anymore. Honestly, I hope she does get help. I'm really angry and violated, as is my BF, but I can empathize with the havoc an uncontrolled mental health issue can wreak on your behavior. And while it's still wrong, it still sucks for her to experience it and lose friends. I can't be sure, none of us can, but I feel like maybe she has a histrionic personality disorder. My relatively normal housemate, who told my BF she was in love with him, turned out to also be a thief. Yikes. Peas. Our mutual friend has told me another friend who went to school with my housemate had told her a rumor. She told a bunch of people in their year that she had leukemia. Yikes.